And maybe everybody always talks about like, should there be a brand split? Maybe not a brand split. Maybe there should be like titles that just stay on a certain show.
Yeah.
Like if you're the world champion, you go between the men's and women's world champion go between shows. But like, obviously keep the TNT title on the show that's on TNT. Keep the TBS title on the show that's on TBS.
And then split up the other ones, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like too that's like where WWE went wrong was when they started mashing everything together because the separate shows had like separate pay-per-views, separate storylines.
And they had kind of a separate feel, like SmackDown and Raw felt different from each other.
And it worked really well because it gave the stories time to develop, and you had like these really, really good scenarios and matches, and everything built up and it was paced really well. Rather than now everything's like crossed between the two shows and it's just like total madness. And I feel kind of like the same way, just my preference with AEW, I feel like if they would keep things a little more separate, like keep things sticking to each show, and then if you do something similar with like your pay-per-view layout, you could build up something better, I think, and make it a better quality overall and a long-term thing.
I did kind of like what they were doing when it was Punk's Collision, because it wasn't an actual brand split, but it was like House of Black is going to be on Collision and FTR is going to be on Collision. And I think Wardlow for a while was there, like Christian was only on there. And like it didn't mean they couldn't go to the other show, but they had storylines that like the problem I have with Collision.
Yeah.
The problem I have with Collision now is you don't need to watch it. Like I haven't watched it in a month, and I don't think I've missed anything.
I think when you keep things more separated, it makes the pacing better. Is overall.
Yeah, I liked Collision because when it started, because if you wanted to see like what Christian was up to, you had to watch Collision in order to see it.
Yeah.
Whereas now you don't and I think that's probably why we've talked about this before too. I think it has an effect on ticket sales because you don't know who's going to be at any given show that you go to, right? Like if Dynamite's coming to your town and you really like Jay White, is he going to be there? Maybe. But if you knew he was like a Collision guy and he was on almost every episode of Collision, and then when Collision came to your town, you're like, oh, there's a really good chance he's going to be there.
Right. That's a good point. I never thought of that.
That's how I always thought when I was getting tickets for, Raw or SmackDown. I was like, oh, cool, I'm going to probably see so-and-so tonight. And then if SmackDown came to town, you knew who you were getting for that night. You know what I mean? Like it was for a while, it was separate. And then they kind of like merged everything together. And that's when I really thought everything, like the quality really went downhill.
Yeah. I don't think they need to do like strict.
No.
But like 90% of the time you should be on your show. And then if there's a reason for you to be on the other show, that's fine. But yeah, maybe splitting the titles is the way to do it. Maybe having them on their own shows and the wrestlers would move around, but that if, two guys are feuding over the, Continental title and that's on Dynamite, and then the guys feuding over the international title are on Collision. Then you kind of know who's going to be where.
Yeah. See, they need to do something like that. That would just simplify everything. It would make
their roster's huge, so it would make sense.
Right. It would be a good way to split up your roster too, to make sure there's more TV time for everyone.
Yeah.
Because right now you can legitimately go like a month without seeing some wrestlers.
Yeah. I mean, that's legit. Wow.
And it's fine. Like it works because they have such a big roster. Like it's not like it's hurting the show necessarily, but it would be better for the wrestlers, I think, if they were more. Yeah, that's a good idea. Split up the titles.